So a common thing for people to do when they go off-roading is to air down their tires for comfort. Today I'm going to talk about how that's actually a myth, and airing down for comfort can actually make your ride more uncomfortable. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We're going to talk about airing down for comfort off-road. It's a common misconception that airing down is going to make your ride more comfortable. And we're going to use this pretend spring to explain to you why airing down for comfort will actually make your ride more uncomfortable. Now, before I get into that, the disclaimer is this. If you're airing down to make a bigger tire patch, more contact with the road, that is true. Airing down will always make a greater contact patch for more traction. That is absolutely a thing that works. But airing down for comfort is a myth. And in order to understand this, we have to first accept that your tires are nothing more than air springs. If you don't think your tires are springs, take your tires off your vehicle and go off-roading on your rims. Tell me how that feels. It's going to feel very jarring because you're not going to have the spring effect or air spring effect of the air in your tires absorbing the bumps like an air spring. So this is your tire. Your tire is nothing more than an air spring, which for this example is a spring. Spring, air spring, it doesn't matter. It's a spring. And when the spring compresses, when you hit bumps, it's what absorbs the shock, and you perceive that absorption of shock as comfort. When people air down, they essentially get rid of the spring altogether. In other words, I'm going to take this spring now and smash it all the way down. Okay? Now, here's you aired down. Here's your new spring that you're riding on, all four tires. Okay? That's your spring. Not much of a spring, now is it? Just a solid piece of metal, just like riding on your rim. So what happens is you go over washboard roads and you're going to be hitting this, and as you can see, there's no absorption. The shock is going to go right through, travel right through, and you're going to feel it more. Now, what happens if you overinflate? If you overinflate, and this is to symbolize or represent overinflation, now we're going to make the spring longer. So now you instinctually know this is going to be a stronger spring. Now, every time you go over shock, you're going to boing, bounce right up. Okay, you're going to have this basketball effect. The spring is way too big. This is overinflation. Okay, so when you're underinflated, you crash. That's called crashing. When you overinflate, you bounce. So the answer to washboard roads and comfort off-road is to take this spring down where it belongs, and that is, I know this spring is looking more and more messed up because it's not really a spring, it's just solder. Take your tires down to where they're supposed to be, and you can experiment higher or lower, but the correct spring rate for off-road comfort is stock spring rate. Now, I'll explain my qualifications in a second, but let me explain here first. It's like the story of Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears. There's a perfect balance where you're not basketballing up and you're not crashing down. That balance, which we perceive as comfort, is right in the middle. And that's what engineers, when they come up with your stock PSI, that's where that number comes from. It gives you the most amount of shock compression, or shock absorption, I should say, without a crashing effect or a rebounding basketball effect. So if you want the best performance for comfort off-road, you're going to want to keep it somewhere near stock tire pressure. Now, qualifications real quick. What am I talking about? How can I even speak on this? We actually live on a washboard dirt road, and we've done so for over a decade. Keep that in mind. It's not that it's something we visit over the course of a decade, but every day since we moved here, in and out, if we need to go anywhere, we're coming back and forth on a washboard, a horrible washboard road for over a decade, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. If I sound annoying, that's what I'm trying to get across, is that we've had an annoying amount of experience over a decade on this washboard road. So what we found is airing down only makes things worse, because you're getting rid of that air cushion, and the shock absorption of your air spring in your tire just carries right through, and you crash. You feel it right through the basically aired down tire, through the vehicle, and you'll feel crashy. You overinflate, and as I said, you'll bounce. You do it just right, and there it is. It will have the best, most comfortable effect. So again, don't confuse this with airing down for traction. That's always going to work. But this notion that making your tires flat or aired down to provide comfort is not correct. You need that air spring. Why not go down to flat tires and let the, if airing down makes the ride more comfortable, why not just go down to 0 PSI? You're going to need some air spring. That's not the answer. The answer is a balance. Now, quick disclaimer, if you modify your car, your car has different, extra gear on it, different tires, bigger tires, then you're going to have to experiment. There's no magic number for air PSI. The idea is you don't want to be overinflated or underinflated. You want to be in that sweet spot, like the three little bears, and find that number that gives you the best comfort. But it's not aired down. If you air down, you have no spring effect at all. So where does this misconception come from? I think the misconception comes from, in other words, the misconception of airing down equals comfort. It gets tied into the airing down for traction fact, which is a fact. You air down and you make tank treads. You make your tire tread longer, right? So I think somehow the two get intertwined, because you're getting more traction and you feel more confident because you're getting more traction aired down, and then it's somehow perceived as it's a comfort thing too. It's simply not. Next time you're on a washboard road, play around with the air pressures from airing down all the way, and be honest with yourself. You'll find that somewhere near stock pressure or higher pressures will give you the most comfortable ride on washboard roads. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a great, great day.